ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to get underway. If everyone can find their seats and remember to enjoy the show. Thank you.
Gelato films are so delicious, they might not be so nutritious, but they're yummy in your tummy, and you'll like the rate of murder that you see on screen. With the bright lights and vivid colors, go in and kill each other. Let's see who the killer is. Let's find out the mystery. It's the person that you would never have expected. Giallo.
It's the person that you never think.
It's never who
better.
you
I don't
want
know.
it to
I
be.
lost gas. You guys gotta jump in there.
Yeah, we'll write it out. And welcome to Coming of Age, everyone.
Welcome,
Hey, guys.
welcome.
This is the beautiful
Welcome
Dan
in.
Joplin who just came in and stole the show.
That
Hey,
wonderful
where's
show
that thing
tune.
at? Let me put it in this big burlap bag and just run out with a...
That's the new intro for
yeah,
the next year.
Great. Ow. Sat on my ball.
Season 2, baby.
And over here is Chase Cummins, to my right.
Hi. I'm here.
He's here. Fuck yeah! Chase, I love you.
Thanks. Oh. All right. And that's Alan Loosebrock.
Hi, everyone. Woo, 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 woo. Like the cops are
Is
coming.
this filmed in front of a live studio audience?
Oh my god.
Every week.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da. You know what? Sometimes life isn't so easy.
Sometimes it can be kind of hard.
In fact, sometimes you try to take a break and go on a cool vacation and you witness a murder and get dragged into a crazy situation where you end up in danger yourself.
And Scooby-Doo music plays.
Zoinks, what are we going to do? How are we going to get out of here, Scoops?
Quack, quack. So
Wow,
great.
wow, 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 wow.
La, 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 la. Well, this is our first episode on Giallo.
Yes, fuck you.
If you know what Giallo is, maybe you got some of those jokes.
If you don't know, you're going to know soon.
Yeah, and you should know because I didn't know what the hell Giallo was like 2 months ago.
Me neither. Yum.
It's looking pretty promising.
It's a fun one.
I've had a good time so far. Only watched 2 films though, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. This is
They
our
get better as they go on.
This is our Giallo themed month. This is part 1, where we're going to be talking about a little bit of the introduction and the history of Giallo,
Yes.
Giallo.
Yes.
and as novels, and then adapted to films, and all of that. And then we're going to get into Blood and Black Lace.
Oh.
Blah, blah,
So an
blah.
important Giallo film, the second Giallo film. Or we should start this out by talking about how Giallo is like the most fundamental horror genre of the late 60s and early 70s, and into today is the most influential genre to the slasher film and other films of that ilk, which have, slasher films pretty standard. It's
Which is
pretty
kind
much
of,
the same.
we stand on the shoulders of giants, and you gotta have your fundamentals. Without your fundamentals, you're not gonna be able to play the game. You can have all the fancy footwork you want, but if you don't know how to pass the ball into the bean counter, then you're not gonna make a touchdown, and that's a fact.
that's like Will Forte. Oh my god.
Oh my god. So these movies are schlocky, campy, gore fests.
Yeah, which is like, I don't know, it's crazy that I haven't heard of like this at all. Especially like from how like perverted the genre has become into like these slasher films, like which already like kind of start off with like John Carpenter and like Halloween and stuff, which is like good, probably the best of all of them. But then they go downhill so fucking quickly.
I mean, Friday the 13th, in my opinion, is a horrendous movie, and it is essentially just a remake.
yeah, dude,
of Giallo.
horrendous,
It's horrendous.
like, badass.
So scary. No, it like the first one is okay because the mom's the killer, and that's like the whole thing. Jason's not even in the fucking movie, but it's literally a.
I think Jason's in the movie.
Jason is not in the first movie.
He's not in Friday the 13th.
No, he's in part 2. Jason doesn't come a thing until part 2.
Are you serious?
Jason is a character in the first movie that
yeah,
dies.
it's that
it's
little
dead,
boy
and his mom's the killer.
I thought he was still in it. It doesn't matter.
No. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
Jason X is the only thing that matters.
Yeah, everyone knows it. Jason in space is the best one.
Oh my god.
No, so like those movies, like Friday the 13th Part 2 completely rips off 2 murders from Bay of Blood. And Bay of Blood is considered now to be the first slasher movie while still being a Giallo film. But we'll get to that. We'll get to
A
that.
hybrid.
It's a hybrid. But if it weren't for these Giallo films that literally define 70s horror, like they started in the 60s, but they literally define 70s horror. These were some of the most popular horror films of the time, which is
Wow.
fucking crazy.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, but yeah, they're very highly stylistic, and like that's the charm of them.
It's part of it, yeah.
There's a lot going on with these films. It's like a big collage of a film.
Yeah, it's a lot of different
taking
stuff.
from a lot of areas, and
Yeah.
it's like, whoa,
Tons of
that's-
influences.
and you can like see it in the film too, which is cool. Appreciate it.
I do too. It's my fucking favorite. Yeah, and as this style goes on, as we get into the mid to late 70s, towards the end of the era of these movies, they're fucking crazy. Like they're like psychedelic and they're like you're on acid.
Yeah.
To certain parts of them, like aspects.
Well, they took all the best parts, and then
They
they
just kept refining it.
yeah,
Kept refining
and
it.
then the '60s happened, and it's just like, okay, like let's run along with that thing.
Yeah. Well, and this movie came out in, I want to say 63, 65, in that time period. So this, what we're talking about tonight, once we get kind of talk about the style of all this stuff, Blood and Black Lace, is definitely like acid culture influence, psychedelic culture.
Fuck yeah.
Oh.
Is impressionism, expressionism, surrealism.
Those lights.
Oh, it's all about the lights.
God,
It's all
the
about the
lights
lights.
are so good.
So without this, we wouldn't have Mike Myers, we wouldn't have Jason, we wouldn't have Freddy Krueger, we
Dude.
wouldn't have Ghostface.
Are you kidding me? No Austin Powers?
No Austin Powers.
I know, dude.
Baby. So let's talk about where these films come from.
No Puppet Master.
You guys want to do that? There would be a puppet master. There wouldn't be Chucky. None of that shit would exist.
I'm fine without Chucky, but
Dude, what? The first Chucky is amazing. It's like Hellraiser.
I know, but it went way too far.
Chucky,
and then,
yeah, no,
and then
no.
it just becomes like fucking boob and dick humor, and you're like, what?
Yeah, but it's Brad
Dude, I was
Dourif
in
the
that-
whole time, and Brad
I was
Dourif
in
is
that
so
Barry
awesome.
Sandler class, and he had like a friend who like was the writer for like Chucky 8 or whatever, and and like
Seed of
he was like
Chucky.
he's gonna Skype with us. He was like I fucking loved Barry. Like Barry was super cool, but like this was just like everybody was like, oh my god, we get to Skype with this guy because he wrote fucking Chucky 8, and like the whole class we had to watch the movie, and then the whole class Skyped with him.
Even
And
if
I
it
just remember
was,
being like, this is fucking awful.
I remember you telling me about that after it happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like sounds so cool. It's like, oh, I'm gonna talk to a screenwriter in Hollywood, and it's like, but he wrote the 8th or 9th Chucky movie.
Yeah.
He's just doing a blow in his hotel room in Hollywood.
Oh, you guys seen Suspiria, man? Shit's amazing.
I just spent all my money for this script.
What kind of Chucky movie we can do next? He got married in the last one. Should he have a kid? He's a kid. That's what happens.
Please let me write the next
Makes
one. I
sense.
need the money. It makes sense. It makes sense that he would,
Yeah, he wrote
Procreate.
Chucky 8.
Blur.
But the original Chucky is awesome. Anyways,
back to Giallo.
back to the Giallo, back to where all that comes from.
Anywho.
The reason that guy's doing coke in his hotel room is because of these movies we're talking about right here.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
We
So-
do coke off the back of giants.
So giallo's the Italian word for yellow. And the reason this genre is named after the Italian word for yellow is because back in the 20s, late 20s, 29, I think when the first one was published, and through the 40s, these pulp novels were published in Italy, and it was Raymond Chandler, Agatha Christie. It was your standard like pulp writers at the time. What ended up being the sources of film noir or several other mystery films at the time were all released in Italy under the name I Giallo Mondadori.
Yeah.
Which is Mondadori Yellow, is literally translated.
Yeah,
But they
it's
were
the
just all the crime
publisher.
stories.
Arnaldo Mondadori was the publisher, and he named it after himself because he's
Because,
noble.
business.
And then they become so popular that everyone just called him Giallo. And
Well-
Arnaldo was not happy. I don't know how he felt.
That took some time. I'm sure he was happy. People started buying the novels again.
Yeah.
These novels were like those fucking 10-cent cheap ass novels that people didn't give a shit if they were well written or not. They just wanted to fucking read a mystery. And eventually these books become not well written.
Well, there was no Rick and Morty, so
Well, it was also that they wanted to forget about how hungry they were and how many goddamn diseases they had.
Well, 29 in Italy wasn't. It was pretty bad. Yeah, you're going into fascism and shit.
any time
It's
before
pretty
this
bad.
time.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But all of these books had yellow covers, and I realized today when I was writing the outline for this thing that Pulp Fiction by Tarantino, the cover for that is a yellow cover, which the pulp novels in America were not released with yellow covers.
It's a
all
yellow
the time.
cover. I thought it was that black cover with Uma Thurman.
The original is yellow with Uma Thurman. And-
That's Kill Bill. I'm just kidding.
Only Kill Bill had yellow.
He has like
And
he has
Uma
like yellow
Thurman.
accents in it. It's like Uma Thurman in the thing, and then it has this yellow thing around it, and then the stills on top of all the different actors. Like it literally looks like an old Giallo Mondadori cover, which is I'm sure intentional.
Yeah.
Kind of cool, and these movies had a huge impact on Tarantino, which we will talk about later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
So nowadays, Giallo in Italy just means a crime story in a crime novel. Like, if you go say, I want a
Grab me
Giallo.
that crime novel.
Yeah, give me a
Grab a
Giallo.
Mysterio.
Give me that crime novel. Give me a Giallo. I want a Giallo to read.
I would like a crime novel lemon.
I will take a Giallo Venti half calf with light whip.
So the first of these novels to actually be adapted into a film was The Postman Always Rings Twice. That was called
Obsession.
Obsession. It's a Luchino Visconti movie.
Dios mío.
Which is actually it's a really fucking great movie. It's actually for what it is.
Yeah, I heard that it
For what
didn't
it is.
quite go far enough for it to be kind of considered a giallo.
It's not
But it was the
cons-
first, just giallo adapted film.
It's the first. At this time, Giallo was only associated with the novels. So it's the first technical Giallo novel
Exactly, yeah.
that was adapted, but it's a neorealist film, and it had a huge impact on film noir. That film in particular did have a huge impact on film noir.
Yeah.
I actually had to watch that in a film noir class. And it's a pretty good movie. Very bleak, which is something that happens in these Giallo films too. They're very bleak.
I watched a lot of bleak films in movie class.
A lot of the good ones were bleak.
Yeah, pretty good.
But it took about 20 more years before another Giallo novel to be adapted in Italy, which is quite a while, especially since in that time period, all those novels were being adapted in America as film noirs, and they were worldwide successes and had a huge impact on the French New Wave, which was going to start around the same time that Giallo starts, just before it, honestly.
Do you think the sex and violence may have had something to do with that? Like it wasn't like the right time maybe to make a movie that featured.
Well, these books didn't feature sex and violence as much. Like
Okay, so that was a
that was
result
something
of
added.
the time.
That was a result of the 60s. Yeah, because
Because
before
that
when you
seems like a big trope of it. That seems like a big chunk.
Oh,
all
it
right,
is.
yeah, for sure. So
Like the majority.
if you really want to retain the adaptations of these novels that are giallo, you should honestly just go find the adaptations that were film noirs, because they're going to be way closer to the actual stories. The only thing the giallos really took from adapting these books was the murder mystery aspect,
Oh, for sure.
the actual mystery.
Yeah.
They're the detective fiction, but like outside of that, they added all the other stuff, and like the sex is kind of there because like that comes in with film noir as well, like the sexiness and the femme fatale. But there are no femme fatales in Giallo. Yeah, well, there are, but they're femme fatales because they just get fucking murdered.
Well,
they're not
yeah.
like
Well,
they're
I
not
would-
like seductive, powerful women.
I would argue in the two films that I watched
Femme fatality.
that the woman turns out to be the killer.
So, and those are rarities. Those are actually weird. Like it. So, Blood
In
and Black
both
Lace
films.
and The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, the woman turns out. Well, in Blood and Black Lace, it's both Cameron Mitchell and
Well, last night, as I stated before, I was falling asleep quite frequently. So I was just like, great, this chick did it. Super, great. Okay, I'm going to bed. I didn't even
hilarious.
She
notice
was
that the
pushed
dude
to
did
do
it too. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. I was just like, all right, whatever. I don't know why. That doesn't make sense. Why was she killing all the girls that like fucking worked at her fucking place? That makes no sense. She's murdering her employees. Whatever. I'm going
We'll
to
talk
bed.
about that when we talk about the movie. It's definitely because she was married to the actual murderer.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I got that. I got that on the second take. Pick that up. Pretty easy. Pretty easy to follow then. When
Yeah.
I was awake.
Yeah, that tends to help.
Yeah.
So the first actual Giallo film to be produced was The Girl Who Knew Too Much, which is also directed by Mario Bava, who did Blood and Black Lace.
Which was his second film. and
Second
Black
Giallo
Lace, right?
film. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before
This is literally his first film. The one that you're talking about right now.
no,
The
the
Girl Who Knew
girl.
Too Much?
No. The Girl Who Knew Too Much is like his third or fourth film.
The
His
first Giallo film.
It's his first Giallo film, and it's the first Giallo film. He also directed the first science fiction film in Italy a few years beforehand. There hadn't been a science fiction film directed. So this guy was doing innovative shit his entire life.
Who directed the first tentacle porn in Japan?
A true innovator, Tetsuo, the Iron Man. So The Girl Who Knew Too Much ended up being the least commercially successful film in Mario Bava's career. Like, it made like nothing back. I mean, and it was like $200,000 budget. It made like 27 grand.
Yeah. It was playing in like fucking X-rated theaters, just like, oh, let's just fucking
Yeah, people just
put this on in between.
Yeah, let's just watch this really bad like gore fest in between the porno.
Fuck yeah.
Because there's probably tits in it, right?
I think there are,
But it's the
So,
first one still.
I'm not because there aren't any in Blood and Black Lace. They
The
just get
butt.
close.
Yeah, they get.
I think there's almost a tit.
there's almost.
When that girl's wearing that like
Almost.
see-through kind of not mesh, but it's just like
I was thinking when one of the
flowers
girls
on
was
it.
getting dragged away, like she almost had a titty out.
Oh yeah, you're right. No, but she almost did. I don't think
She
that.
almost had a
you
titty.
see
That
nipple.
bitch
in it.
almost had a titty out. It was like, is that a titty? Do I see a titty? Oh, almost.
Almost.
Yeah. Oh,
Almost.
they cut too quickly. I was
The-
about to see it.
The nudity didn't come till later, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like a psycho thing, which we'll get into later. But yeah, like they were still playing with like the classics at the time. Like there were still classic horror movies coming out, and like there wasn't nudity yet. It was like it wasn't a staple. It becomes a staple. There's definitely nudity in Argento's first.
Stapled nudity.
This film, the Girl Who Knew Too Much, actually didn't become commercially successful until The Bird with the Crystal Plumage came out, which is Argento's first film. I'm pretty sure it's his first movie, and it's his first Giallo, obviously. And because of all this, Mario Bava didn't look back very fondly on The Girl.
He's like, damn, I fucked up.
Yeah, he didn't really love that movie. He made.
Oh, I fuck it up.
It was tu peux pas nope, that is French. That's a French accent. Nope, just hold on. A pizza pie, mamma mia, cannoli, rigatoni, lasagna. Okay, there we go. I got it. The film was too preposterous. Perhaps it could have worked with James Stewart and Kim Novak, whereas I had, I can't even remember their names. Some stupid fuckfaces.
He actually said that. He did not even remember the names of the people who starred in The Girl Who Knew Too Much. He was just like, it would have worked better if it was the cast of Vertigo, which is hilarious and fucked up. but
You got it made, baby.
well, he bounced back
How did
from
that get made?
basically, yeah. How did that get made? How did he continue making movies after that kind of financial loss?
Yeah.
Because that movie didn't make more money for another almost 10 years.
I don't know. Like, what were his fucking
I'm
previous 2 or 3 movies?
Um,
How were they doing?
He did The Day the Sky Exploded. He did Black Sunday, which was a really popular gothic horror movie.
Black Sunday. I feel like I've heard of that.
I'm sure you have. It's a really popular black or gothic horror movie that it's really influential
Is it
on
really?
this genre and a lot of other films. So, Blood and Black Lace is what establishes the genre. Basically, it like fully realizes the genre, and people
It's
can
the best.
yeah, it's great. And people point to it and go, okay, so that's where all those things were established. You got your colorful lighting and your mass killer and all that kind of stuff.
As I was watching this, I was wondering because I knew like some of the themes and conventions and whatnot, and there wasn't a lot of first person in this though, was there?
No, there's. I don't think there was any.
Was that something that was more established later on? Because wasn't that one of like kind of the convention, one of the tropes of it?
It's one of the big tropes of it, and it is not established until later on in the era. It's really until Argento comes on the scene. Argento really like he doesn't reinvent the genre, but he added a lot more stuff to it. So the first time you really see that is like The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. You get lots of like first person points of view. And that just becomes more and more and more as this genre
I think like it
evolved.
picked up on a lot of different things and it uses them in a lot of them, but it goes in and out, you know, movie to movie, obviously, like from those different things because I don't know. Hopefully, because people are trying to be artistic. I
Well,
don't
yeah,
know, but,
not
like,
every single
There
one
are
of
a lot
these-
of artistic films that are giallo, but I think that like I saw a very artistic one, which I think is Blood and Black Lace, which is also hilarious, and especially the dub is so funny. But like the Bird with the Crystal Plumage was like a little. It was a lot less crazy and more like tame and just kind of straight laced.
But the violence is a lot more graphic. It's not.
I wouldn't say so.
It-
But I mean, we can talk
yeah,
about that later, I suppose.
We'll talk
but-
about that when we get.
But it
to
doesn't
it,
even
yeah.
matter. We're not going to talk about Crystal Plumage a lot, I suppose. But
It's only important to talk about in that it brings Dario Argento to the scene, and after that movie got made, it made Giallo internationally successful.
Yeah.
And after he released that movie, there were like 68 Giallo films produced from 71 to 73, like in just 2 years. They made like almost 70 movies of this genre,
oh my god,
which is insane, and they were all really popular.
that's awesome.
And it was because of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. It gave people something that like a little bit more easily digestible.
Going to like a Giallo art show / Halloween party would be the coolest fucking thing ever. Just like crazy lights and oh, it's a murder mystery party. People are just really getting murdered.
Yeah, that's a movie.
It'd be so fun.
Nobody. I'm just thinking it is really cool. It is a really cool idea, but nobody has the drunk attention span to actually keep on. Like, I feel like a Halloween party just in general is that. Like a good Halloween party already is that, minus the murder mystery theme because it's like. What the fuck are we gonna do? Let's just fucking keep drinking. Like, what do you
Well,
mean
I
murder
meant
mystery
more
theme?
so
What
like
do you-
if you had like a party at an art gallery and like had a bunch of installments of like Giallo, you know, shit, and made it really cool, and like everyone acted responsibly and it was fun party.
Yeah, you would have to keep the Jello cool, or else it would melt.
God damn it!
Jello shots at the Giallo party.
It's the Giallo Jello. So after Blood and Black Lace came out, people like really latched onto this genre. Several more Giallo films were made until Dario Argento came on the scene, and that in 1970, and that is like what blows Giallo into an international realm. And we will talk all about that.
Fucking changed the game.
He changed the game.
Change the goddamn game.
So we'll talk all about that in our next episode. But moving on from that, we're gonna have to talk about some of the influences on this genre.
Who influenced the goddamn
Hit us
genre?
with those influences. What's up with them influences?
So this genre is by far the most influenced by Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, it's depressing.
It's gothic horror at its best, and a lot of these movies were based on Poe stories. Some of the best titles came out of his adaptations, like Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key, which is a fucking awesome title.
It's creepy.
It's
just like
so good.
just fucking just
Dude, all
don't
these-
say that
all-
to me.
All these titles sound like mid 2000s emo bands, like emo and indie bands.
Well, there's a huge. It's another thing where it's like it doesn't have to have this to be a giallo film, but like a lot of titles for giallo films have numbers. What is it? Numbers, colors, and animals.
Yeah, like 4 flies on gray velvet.
And it's just a huge fucking thing.
It's fucking awesome.
It's just so many titles just like that. So that one's so. It really does sound like emo bands in South Florida.
Yeah, totally,
yeah.
totally.
No, exactly.
Totally. But these titles are super baroque, and like they have like a root in art history to a certain extent, and a lot of them are the result of multiple versions of these movies existing and having to rename the movie a dozen fucking times
Yeah.
for the different countries it's coming out in. We'll get all into that.
And those band names come from
From this.
those kids reading Edgar Allan Poe
and then watching
then
these
I-
fucking movies.
Yeah.
and being like,
And fucking masturbating.
I'm
Like,
gonna be a writer right after
Yeah.
I fucking come.
Yeah.
I don't feel like writing anymore.
Oh, I lost my motivation.
Donna, Donna,
So-
Donna, Donna.
Specifically in this movie, Blood and Black Lace, the one that we're going to talk about later tonight, all of the sequences with all the like really like distinctive color is like homage to Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe, and specifically the Roger Corman, Vincent Price movie, where I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I have not. That sounds like fun.
You've seen it with me.
Oh, I have seen it.
You've watched it with me.
Okay. I think I know what film that is now that you say that, because I don't think I've watched many.
It's about a
Vincent
Satanist
Price
who has like a
movies.
series of rooms that are all different colors.
Ah,
He murders people.
yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to that. But
Very
that's
fun.
an homage. So these films are like very gothic horror-y, and then they're super influenced by Alfred Hitchcock.
And opera, which I found very interesting about like reading about this genre and finding out that it's just like associated with opera because of how fucking crazy like high stakes opera is pretty much.
Very exaggerated. Yeah.
Well, it's just how like I don't know, like how lofty, how like I don't know, how like high society it like the film we watched so far is about like a high fashion institute. Like these aren't like lowly people. This is like, you know, high society folks, and like the horrors happening to them and everything too. I feel like it's
for sure, and that's a common trope in a lot of these movies. Is it's high society, it's people of prominence or wealth that are being affected by the murders or are committing the murders themselves.
I'm traveling the country, or like I'm a supermodel. I
Yeah.
hope I don't get murdered.
I'm an art dealer and I do the murdering.
Am I going to get murdered?
There's lots of that in this, and a lot of that comes from things like from Hitchcock and from films like Peeping Tom by Michael Powell, which is about a photographer, like a high fashion photographer who uses his camera to spy on women and then eventually start murdering them. It's a very creepy horror film from the 50s.
Very cool.
you know, some say these movies are sexist and misogynist, but I just say they just already knew that girls like to be choked a little.
Oh God.
Well, that stems back to
That's what all of these
the Neolithic area. era.
era.
The area where people were being Neoliths.
I'm a real Neolith.
Another huge influence on these movies are the creamies, the German creamies.
The creamies.
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 The creamy.
Heimis. Heimis.
The creamy.
Not the creamies.
The creamy awards.
Which is short for, and I'm going to let Dan take this.
Criminal.
Criminal films. Criminal Roman. Is that the one I was supposed to say?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Great.
Yeah, well, Roman,
Criminal Roman.
as we found out in Coming of Age, Roman is just a book.
It's a story.
So it's criminal novels, pretty much.
Yes.
You know,
No,
crime
it's crime
novels.
stories. It's crime stories. No, but these particular
crime
films are
stories.
based on a specific author's works. They're all based on Edgar Wallace novels. And what they share in common with Giallo is it's usually a mass killer. It has a detective element or a murder mystery element to it. And the killer is usually revealed by the end of the movie.
Hitler influenced the mass killing, right?
The Nazis, for sure.
They're like, let's just make this into books. Come on, the war's ending. Oh, I want to read about this.
So the connection between Krimis.
No, they came out in like the 60s, didn't they?
The Krimis came out.
Do you-
Started in '59.
Okay.
Say it again.
Krimis.
Cream, it really over here. It sounds like you're saying cream. Every
It's
single
like,
time. It sounds
well,
like you're
it's
saying
because
cream.
he's. Yeah,
Krimis?
it probably is what it sounds like in
Krimis.
in German.
Krimis.
Krimis.
Krimis. Krimis.
Krimis.
It's a difficult
Krimis.
subgenre to pronounce.
Yeah, because it just looks like creamy.
Yeah. Creamy.
It's just so creamy.
It's so creamy.
Creamy.
It's a baraboo and a creamy.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. It's so creamy. The cannoli, it's got a wonderful feeling. It's so, mwah, so they get a little bit of chocolate on the end. The salad on, mwah, so creamy.
Oh, the ravioli and the pasty.
So the Krimis, the films are related to Giallo so much that the sole producer,
Practically cousins.
pretty much the sole producer of the German films. I'm not going to say that fucking word again. Rialto film. They as interest in the Krimis started dwindling, they started just going, well, they're really popular in Italy, and then there's this other genre that's similar, that's really popular. Let's just produce those movies. So like one of the last Krimis is actually a Giallo film as well.
Yeah.
It's like both. So there's a crossover there between the two, and it happens in the late 60s. But that's like a big influence on the genre, just like the murder mystery aspect, proving that those murder mysteries can be successful in a market.
In the German market, you're saying?
In the general market, but like they use the Italian market as like kind of the case in point.
I'm just saying, I imagine Giallo German films to be just Giallo films, but everybody's in like leather straps and bondage and gimp suits.
Well, there were
'Cause
never
that's German,
there were
right?
never but there never really were Giallo German
Yeah.
films. The Giallo film is pretty distinctive because it usually has to be Italian. Now there are some Spanish language ones from Spain, and like Brian De Palma made one in 1980 that like you could kind of consider Giallo. But
Well,
like
now you say that, but in Italy, Giallo just refers to any crime novel now, any crime story, like.
But
even
not necessarily
American
the genre.
But we're talking about the genre of film, like the Giallo
Okay.
genre of film.
But-
it's
Okay.
typically
Yes.
it's typically an Italian director, an Italian crew with an international cast, and there are some Spanish ones from Spain.
Even
And-
inside of the Giallo, like some films that are considered Giallo by other people are not considered Giallo. And it really becomes this fine line,
yes,
I think, that is sort of silly.
yeah. There's some silliness to like the purists and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
It's kind of just like you have to adhere to all these rules to become this genre, but like as a artist, hopefully you're
Subverting
taking
that.
some of this and like, putting your own thing to it as well. So it's, I don't know.
Well, what's interesting about
kind
this
of odd.
genre is it becomes a genre of subversion. Like by the time you get to the end of it, Argento is constantly taking elements of Giallo and trying to make different kinds of movies with them that aren't necessarily Giallo, and that's where
I
people
was gonna
start
say,
to
it
get
seems
really
like
debate.
there's different levels of purists in Giallo that like have different levels of like what it takes to be Giallo.
Yeah, there definitely are. Some people think it has to contain all of these things. Like it has to be a mass killer. They have to have leather gloves. There has to be brutal murders. There has to be naked women. Like it has to be.
And
a
is that even
tourist.
the
It
directors
has to be
though
a murder
having those
mystery.
thoughts, or is it like just fucking
It's-
people on the internet these days?
It's people on the internet these days. It's people who grew up watching movies because the directors at the time, all they wanted to do was make good movies, and so these murder mysteries served as good, easy stories for them to do crazy visuals and set up.
And all these
grisly
giallo
deaths.
movies were coming out, and that was a good way to roll because they were popular, and it was like it
Yeah.
was just rolling with the fads of the time, and so it's just like let's just
it's like
fucking
people
make
like this shit. Let's
this
make
film
over
and over
exactly.
again.
I mean, you have directors like Joe D'Amato, who's known for making pornos, who just started making giallo films and horror films because they were popular, and he
and
made,
he could keep the titties around.
he made titillating, very very erotic horror movies. He also made some really great horror movies. Anthropophagia is supposed to be one of the greatest zombie cannibal movies of all time. It's directed by a porno director who made a bunch of these giallo films, or worked in the genre at least. A lot.
So there is hope, all you porn directors out there.
Well, Wes Craven worked in porn too.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah, he talks about it in a documentary. It was just, it was popular at the time, and like directors weren't like, we have to adhere to these things. They were just like influenced by each other. Like the reason Deep Red and Suspiria look the way they do is going to be because Dario Argento liked Blood and Black Lace, and he liked the way that Bava used color in Kill Baby Kill and stuff like that. I mean, movies like that really like they just influenced each other. It was just like, and there weren't that many directors. I mean, there are a handful, but like, and they made so many fucking movies from 63 to 78 when it kind of ends.
Out of all the like tropes of giallo films, like I would say that like there's like 3 key elements that are probably in most, if not all of them, and that's the murder mystery, the sex, and the violence.
Yep.
That's like the 3 things that are like
Those are the
most definitely going to be a part of the giallo fucking story.
it's the murder mystery, the sex, and the violence. The colors don't even have to be there, even though they're like important.
They make the film better.
Yeah, there are directors who use more like quote unquote sedated colors and like muted colors, like Lucio Fulci. I'm pretty sure he's the one who
Lucio Fulci.
Lucio Fulci, and
Lucio
I'm pretty
Fulci's
sure
a piece of fucking shit. You need the colors. You need them to pop. You need them like a pop right in your fucking face. All right. I need neon. I need it bright. I need warm. I need cool. I need a fucking duality all over my goddamn face. Cinematic splooge, baby.
he made more psychologically focused films. Like his films focus more on the psychology of it all. And while like Argento and Bava like kind of vacillated between focusing on the psychology of it and focusing on just the style of making these movies look really fucking good. We have talked about how the Grand Guignol Theater played into this. Because the Grand Guignol, like the opera, it was like a subgenre of opera, but it was horror opera. It was horror theater, and they were known for doing graphic, immoral things on stage, and that has like a huge impact on like the genre itself being so gory and being so like titillating.
It's
and
like
scantily clad.
it's like
nudity.
the opera that they see in The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's exactly like that. They're in Italy. And they're seeing it, and it's like, oh no! And all the blood, like with rushing out of that guy, like with the blanket. Oh my god, it's so good.
That's exactly what that is. That is Grand Guignol. Yeah, it's
Very sexy death.
It's very sexy death. And Talented Mr. Ripley is a pretty sexy movie.
Yeah, if you like Jude Law, he's a pretty sexy guy.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow's not quite so sexy, and you kind of feel bad for her in the movie.
and then she's an idiot in real life. So obviously the most like important part of this genre, what truly makes it important, is the gruesome murders. The mystery's at the core of it, but like truly at the core is depicting these just shocking murders and this gore and like the murder is the murder is the horror. It is the most important part.
That's what makes it the best.
It's
Wait,
fucking
murder is horrific? Since when?
Horrendous. This fucking movie is horrendous.
So the typical plot for a giallo film, and it's almost all of these movies, deal with a mysterious killer stalking and butchering women, and they're always beautiful women.
Yep.
They kill men sometimes, but it's always like
It's on their way to kill the woman.
women. Yeah, they're trying
All
to
they
kill a
want
woman.
is them big old titties, just not moving at all. No jiggle, no wiggle. Just lay there. Ooh, perfect. That's great. Perfect. Great. Don't move. You're not moving? Great. That's
You
hot.
look great.
That's
You look
hot.
great.
That's hot and slowly cooling to room temperature. Perfect.
Let me take off my mask. Oh, I'm a woman too.
Sometimes. It's often men.
Often.
The most of these movies are based in reality, and they have a human killer, but occasionally there are supernatural elements. And that's when we're gonna get into the Suspiria argument, because that's one of the big ones, and we'll talk about that in episode 3. So a typical gialli protagonist is an outsider of some kind. They've traveled, they're a tourist, and they're usually a young woman. But in like The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, it's not a young.
It's a beautiful young man
It's a young man.
with a mole on his face.
Oh, can we talk about how in these movies nobody trusts the cops?
Oh yeah, it's a part of the thing, part of the like anarchist movement in Italy, and like I don't know, just that they're like very anti-government, which is healthy.
The second time I watched this movie, when I actually saw this movie because I was awake, I like after at the end of Blood and Black Lace, I was certain like the ultimate killer or like the ultimate mastermind was gonna be the detective. Like I thought he was gonna step out.
That
Like,
happens
you're
for me in every film. In every single movie, I'm like, it's the fucking detective. And then it's never the detective until you get to Dario Argento's opera, which is literally about the reference to the opera. And then
Don't-
it's
Spoilers.
actually the detective. Not that
it
big of
is
a one.
It is spoiled for me now.
It's fine. You were not missing too
I'm sure
much.
it's gonna be all right. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
fine.
But I like to guess. You know.
It is one of those things where the entire time you're watching these movies, the detective seems like he might be the guy who's doing it.
Well, I mean,
And it
because
feels
also
like
the
it becomes
detective
a
is kind of a
joke.
dick the whole time. Like all the detectives are like fucking assholes.
Yeah, and every
To
character
everyone.
thinks like if they get caught with a dead body, the cops are gonna be like, "You did it. It was you."
Yeah.
Oh my god, when in Blood and Black Lace, like the girl finds the journal of the murdered girl, and every single person
Oh,
gets a
it's the
bum
best.
bum bum reaction.
Yeah.
Like
They all look
fucking every
close up.
single person in the room, like a fucking 5 or 6 different characters get their own close up and like bum bum bum. Oh no.
Dude, it's the best because literally that woman dies. They literally push her dress onto someone else. They start wearing her clothes. They start looking through her shit.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then they
no.
read her diary. It's literally like the worst shit ever.
Wait, who did? Okay, fine, good. Somebody's gonna wear the dress. Wait, where's the brooch? Oh, that was her brooch. Oh, it's cool.
Oh,
it's
let's go
in one
look
of these
through her
boxes
shit.
over here. Yeah, let's just fucking go through this dead chick's shit.
It's exactly it.
They're like, oh look, I found a diary. Damn, there's some juicy shit in here.
Everybody's
Yeah,
like,
and
And everyone's like,
"What?
oh
What?"
fuck, there's
I
some
have to read
shit.
Well, the one
There's
person
some
who is
shit
the
about me in
murderer,
there.
like one of the people who is accessory to the crime or whatever, is like, let's not right now. No, this is not appropriate, guys. Come on, no, it's not. Just like not right now.
Yeah.
We
That
got a
was
show to
voice
put
of
on.
reason. Well, let me just take it home and I'll give it to the police tomorrow.
It's so funny.
I'm the one who found it. She pulled finders keepers.
Yeah.
Every
Jordan
single
goes, she
person
literally
in
just
this-
pulled finders keepers law.
Like every single person in this was fucking nervous and had an ulterior motive. Like,
yeah, every
Oh,
single
it was
person
so
had an
funny.
ulterior
It was
motive.
so fucking hilarious because I was literally bringing up Always Sunny. Like it was like they should just make an Always Sunny Giallo episode because everyone is just looking out for themselves and they've all got something to hide. It's all blackmail to like each other.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, no. Oh, damn, there's this dead body in my backyard. Well, I don't want anyone to find out that this dead body is here.
Yeah.
So let me just move this because I've got other things to do.
This is gonna inconvenience my entire afternoon.
the Elvira chick. The Elvira chick, you know the one I'm talking about? That
Yeah.
had like the black short hair, like part of the
She
middle.
was super cold to the other girl who's like, I live in the country. Will you please let me stay with you? And she's like, no, I want to live with myself. I want to be by myself.
I didn't think Elvira. Definitely not.
No,
she
I
looked more
just
like-
thought that from the black parted hair and like
Yeah.
the pale
Elvira
skin
had
and
the-
the red lipstick and shit.
Elvira had the big hair. She was more like
She did, yes.
Audrey Hepburn meets Elvira. She had this
Okay.
like she had this mousy look, but then she had that like cold Elvira.
But she was
buff.
like
I
too
liked
pale
her.
for anything but Elvira. Okay. Like,
Yeah, I mean, she definitely leaned towards the Elvira, but that haircut was like totally Audrey Hepburn.
yeah, but
It was like Pixie.
she was like she seemed like the only one who didn't actually have anything to hide,
Yeah.
much to hide. And then she was just like killed as a side note at the end.
Yeah.
Just like,
As like a
oh yeah,
frame
and also
job.
kill this bitch. But also seemed like one of the most suspicious ones just because of her evil spider-like look.
Yeah. But it was just because she was like looking out for herself and like didn't
Yeah.
give a fuck.
She was the tough girl. She was
Yeah.
cool as fuck.
yeah. I mean,
I
she
loved her.
That's why she's the last one to die.
She
and
was
she
my
dies in the
fave.
most beautiful way.
She also
Like,
dies
with
in the
this-
most just like, oh yeah, also, by the way.
Yeah, she got
Just go ahead.
drowned.
Yeah.
But that scene is great. That scene is great. Like it's shot well.
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah,
For
it
fucking
it
sure.
looks good.
I'll tell you, this movie was also very mysterious and everything, considering that the first time I watched it, I say that with air quotes, and fell asleep a bunch. I thought that solely the woman was the killer. So then when I was actually watching it today, I was like, that is definitely a dude in like the fucking in the
Drag.
costume, like murdering all these people.
Oh
And so-
yeah, when they cut and
Yeah.
like it's the woman. That's so
yeah,
funny.
yeah. But then no, like later in the murders that she's supposed to commit, it seems like it's more like a woman in in like the costume and everything. But yeah, no, just initially I was like, what the fuck? This is a fucked up because like that's definitely a dude like picking those people up just
yeah, for
so easily and the
This-
musculature of a man.
The scene where he's about to burn the one woman's face.
Oh my
in his
God.
little lair, and she rips
Brutal.
his mask off, and you can like tell it's Cameron Mitchell just for a second.
Yeah.
And like it's barely, and then you're like, oh, that's a man, and then
Just looks like an old man,
yeah,
pretty much. You're
it's,
just like,
it's really
old man.
quick. But yeah, and but I was like, it's got to be Cameron Mitchell, and then he like burns her face, and that scene's great. That scene's crazy.
Well,
That
with
seems
these
brutal.
with these films, I really didn't expect like the whole. I don't know. I wasn't sure how it was gonna be with the actual killers. Like how much. I didn't think that they would be. You would find out who they actually were, like a murder mystery would go. Like
You
I
do
thought it was,
often.
because like obviously this is like what the slasher movie like turned out to be. And it's not like like. I guess you know who the slasher guy is, but he's like a weird supernatural figure, so that's weird too.
Well, except when like look at Scream. Scream wouldn't exist without these movies, and Scream is at the end of the movie it's just two of the kids in school, and
Yeah.
like the way it's shot and it's a parody. There's definitely like a scene like the one with him and with the two killers and Jamie Kennedy in the Blockbuster or whatever, and they're being intimidating. If you know that they're the killers, it's super obvious. It's like the way that they're talking, just the dialogue's so laced with subtext. You're like, well, they're the ones who did it. And what's great about these Giallo movies is they throw so many red herrings. Like in The Bird with
Yeah.
the Crystal Plumage, there's like 8 different moments where you're like, oh, well, that's the killer. And they have the gloves come out, and you're like, oh, well, that's the killer. And there's just so many times where they just, like throw you for a loop, and that's why you constantly think the detectives are the killer or the other.
Literally,
person's the
that
killer.
one guy. He's like they had mentioned that he like smokes cigars and he's fucking
Yeah.
like English or whatever, and like that guy is like just smoking a cigar and he's like, huh. Sounds something familiar on the tape or something. And
Yeah.
he's just like, can I take this home? And
Yeah.
you're just like, that guy
guy's
did
the
it.
killer.
That
That
guy
guy's the
fucking did
dude.
it. And he didn't. He's like killed.
Yeah.
A day later. You're like,
Yeah.
oh.
Listen, Friday the 13th, Jason, Freddy, all these things, those are great, but a dick going through an ear in Scary Movie 1, that's what I really thank Giallo for.
It does. It
I
wouldn't
was
exist without
going
it
to
because
bring up
I know
Scary
what you did
Movie.
last summer is like a reference to Giallo, like all those teen slasher movies. So it is directly responsible for Scream or
Well,
for
Scary
Scary
Movie.
Movie
No,
1.
yeah.
Scary Movie 1.
Scary Movie 6.
Scary Movie 1 and 2. Okay, not 3, not anything beyond that, but 1 and 2.
For sure 1. Because 2 was more of an exorcist
David
parody.
Cross blows himself in 2, okay?
Oh no, 2 is amazing. But I don't know if Giallo had anything to do with it too.
Probably the sex
No,
and horror
it
elements.
absolutely
Oh, you're right,
no. It
you're
wouldn't
right.
exist because without Giallo, Scream wouldn't exist, and without Scream, Scary Movie wouldn't exist.
You're right.
So yes, it absolutely
Absolutely.
we owe Scary Movie to Giallo.
Well, if without Giallo, Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer wouldn't exist, and that
That's
is
what I'm
literally
saying.
Scary Movie. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
no,
you're
that's what I'm
right.
saying.
You're
And
right.
If those movies, scary movies, didn't exist, then
I would
like
kill myself.
awesome
Oh, wait,
films
what?
like Movie 43 and Disaster Movie,
An epic movie.
all these cool movies
Listen,
wouldn't
Alan.
exist.
Listen, Alan, we either die the hero or we live long enough to see ourselves become the villain. All right?
That's the
we
Giallo in a nutshell.
Are heroes on the backs of villains.
Oh. All right, so protagonists in these movies are generally unconnected to the murders until they witness a crime.
And they're
then when
like,
they
"Hey, I
witness-
want to go like explore these crimes and figure out what's going on."
Yeah.
Come
and-
on, Scoob. Would you do it for a fucking biscuit, you dumb fucking dog?
Police aren't doing their job.
Well, I can't trust the police. I have to do this myself. The Bird with the Crystal Plumage does that a lot. Like, that's the plot, basically. And I honestly don't think that was a trope until that movie.
His girlfriend's
because-
so hot in that movie.
Yes.
Bangin'.
Very,
I didn't
very
see
hot.
it. Bangin'.
Bangarang.
But I don't... I don't think that... I don't... Like, Blood and Black Lace does not involve, like, someone who witnesses a crime and then becomes involved because of, you know...
The
like-
plot.
It's
Yeah.
just like Rat Race, the horror movie.
Yeah, that's what Blood and Black Lace feels like. It's like everybody trying to get this
It
one
has
diary
Mr.
and then
Bean
just
in
people
it?
are dying.
And Whoopi Goldberg?
It's John Lovitz.
I do not want to work at Home Depot.
So at the end of these movies, almost always the killer's identified and their motive is identified as well. And the killer's almost always revealed in the climax, almost always at the end of the movie. It's always a major character, and they've always concealed their identity. And there's always red herrings. We've already said all of those things. It happens so much in this, though. It happens so much in these movies, though, that it's comedic.
But
Like,
it
it's
happens.
worth
It
repeating.
happens hard.
So most Jolly adhere to this structure, and a few throw those conventions out the window. A notable one is Hatchet for the Honeymoon, because in that movie, the killer is actually the protagonist. But most importantly, I think what's notable about these films is that they all employ an intentional lack of focus on logical or coherent narrative storytelling.
Intentionally.
It makes it a lot of fun.
It makes it fun, but it's worth noting that it is intentional most of the time. They disregard realism, and a lot of that is seen in the acting, dialogue, and character motivation.
There was so
And
many.
a lot of that is seen in the movie.
There were so many bad scripts and bad directors making Giallo films that they were just like, it's part of the style.
But the good ones
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
no, it's just artistic license. It's not like we didn't give a fuck.
No, the good ones do it.
It's not like
to-
we were just all
I'm a
on
porn
coke.
director.
Okay, so Joe D'Amato does it to great effect. Dario Argento also does it to great effect. They use them as
Can you
like,
believe I'm a porn director?
I've directed pornos, the most famous Italian pornos of the time.
Ah, the porno.
The best pornos you've ever had, okay? It's a mama's pornos. Nobody likes to makes a porno like my mama make a porno, okay? My mama make the best porno you've ever had. A hot fresh porno right to your doorstep for you. Oh my gosh, you love it. Mwah. Oh, the porno. It's so saucy on your face.
Eat my porno.
Yeah, it's much
Try
fun.
my porno.
We'll have to do an
Mamma mia,
entire series on
porneria.
Joe D'Amato's pornos. That's gonna have to be a thing because there's a 4-part porno.
A 4-part porno? You mean I closed my browser and I'm never gonna find that video again?
No, it's
I'm not gonna finish a 4-part. I'm done after 1 part.
They're horror parodies too. It's
All right.
like Night of it's a Night of the fucking Dead or something like that.
Funny.
And like it's like a
Funny.
zombie
Sexy.
horror, like zombie
Let's-
porno.
Let's just make a slideshow on the history of porn. Each of us individually, as individuals, will all make our own. And then we'll present them on the podcast through an audio medium. If that doesn't sound like success, I don't know what does.
If we get paid for it.
I'll make a slideshow, I swear.
Get
He's
money.
just talking about something that's not happening.
Most of these kill sequences are meant to invoke voyeurism, and so Blood and Black Lace doesn't do it so much. But as
Ooh, I'm
it
looking
goes
at
on,
you. I'm in the
it's that-
bushes. I see
it's
your
in that
panties.
first person.
Oh, look at your panties. Let me touch them. Let me smell them.
And because of the voyeuristic aspects of the movie, we often see the black leather gloves, which are like iconic to the genre, in the first person point of view, and he's usually holding a knife.
Dude, when the killer in Blood and Black Lace is literally just like fucking bashing that woman's head against the tree and just like roughing her up, like choking her, it's pretty fucking brutal.
Yeah, it's meant to be grisly.
I think it's much more brutal than the kill scenes in like Crystal Plumage. Like I thought the Crystal Plumage were kind of artistic, but very bland.
Some of them were really bland.
I thought that Blood and Black Lace handled murders in a fun way. That girl getting her face burned was very effective.
It was
By
scary.
effective, you made it makes you go, ooh, like where you clench up your anus and you're like, ooh, ah, oh, ah, God, I don't want my face burned.
Yeah, I can feel
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
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 That's how I mean.
Even
Yeah.
though it's so campy and so like fucking cheesy, it's still, you're
Still
just
so.
Because it's well executed. That's like
Yeah.
something that's really important to this genre. Is it is schlocky and it is campy, but it is so well executed that the gore is actually pretty fucking uncomfortable.
like, okay,
When we
but
started the
but
movie,
the
I
fucking-
was scared.
the suit of armor kill, with like the weird fucking
Oh, yeah.
Claw
like
thing in her
claw
face.
thing. I was like, did they just find this at a fucking thrift shop? They were like, ooh, a claw thing that could kill somebody. Like, let's fucking put that in. Like that just, I was like,
Kind of.
why did you have a claw
Still
thing?
effective though in my regard. Like, I
It was
just
the
like,
weird. It was a
"That's
very
gonna hurt my face."
strange. Yeah, but it was like this does not seem like an effective tool.
It was an improvised tool. A lot of these movies, though, are challenging each other to kill the people in creative ways. And even though this is the second movie and the only other movie before this was made by the same person, that kind of escalation you will see throughout the genre is like the further it goes along, the more and more the directors are like, let's find a fucking weird ass way to stab this person in the face. And like that happens. Like
Behind the back.
behind the back, Mario Bava literally in Bay of Blood cuts a man's face in half with a claw hook. And
Claw hook?
And it's all shown. It gets way more graphic as it moves on. Very bloody.
A claw hook.
A claw hook.
Oh right,
It's
a
like-
claw hook.
It's actually like a machete with like a big claw on the end. It's like a
Like-
giant
is it, like,
sword
hooked?
claw. Yeah,
It's like hooked.
It's like a big hook.
That makes sense.
If you look at the cover, he's hooking a woman's neck in the water, and he's cutting. her
Oh, like
throat
one of those
open.
old timey like the stage thing where it's just
Like
like
a
that
cane.
joke's not
It's a
good enough.
machete
Like,
cane.
yeah.
Exit stage left, Ethan.
It's a machete
Yeah.
cane.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, wow.
Yeah, but your head's decapitated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the head falls off and then
you
it just
become
like lands on the stage and just rolls a little bit.
decapitated, and it's hard to speak.
I cannot speak in the afterlife.
I'm a ghost.
Hi, I'm a fun ghost, okay? I host a radio show. I'm a host ghost. I'm a ghost host that hosts a show about ghosts. What are you doing, ghost? I'm just floating around. I play drums.
Ringo Starr's ghost.
He's gonna do a spit take, but there's
He's not even
shit
dead.
around me.
He's not even dead. We're making jokes about Ringo Starr being dead, and he's not even dead. Isn't that sucks to be that Beatle?
Oh no, that's John Lennon that does drums.
I know what you were doing. You were referencing Comedy
don't know.
Bang
You
Bang.
don't know. No.
On
you
our
don't
fucking
know.
podcast.
You don't know. No, you don't know. No.
In these movies, the killer's always wearing black leather gloves, a trench coat, a mask, and a hat, or some combination of those. And the black gloves are the most iconic. And most of the victims in these movies are killed when they're in a vulnerable situation. So they're either taking a bath or taking a shower, or they're scantily clad and getting in bed.
Psycho.
Yes, very much so a Hitchcock thing. Like it's always.
Dude, what about when you're trimming your pubes?
they get killed then?
It's a really vulnerable moment.
Oh, dude,
Not
what the
only
fuck?
are you like you're nude and you're easily shocked, but you got a fucking sharp tool by your Johnsons.
And you're focused on that for sure.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
there's a sharp
yeah,
tool
yeah.
that comes around your throat and then just slits you right open.
Yeah,
Yep.
be
Yeah.
bad. Especially if you got you while you're shaving your balls. I don't even do that. That seems dangerous.
All right, well, let's talk about the themes of Gialli. Let's wrap
Oh,
this shit
fine.
up.
We'll talk about themes rather than pubes. Whatever.
So, Gialli are noted for psychological themes of madness, alienation, sexuality, and paranoia. And it's pretty much all four of those in every single one of these movies. The protagonists are pretty often made to question their own perceptions of what is real. And they're often their testimonies are often questioned by authority figures, and they are like literally brought to this point where they can't even trust themselves. They don't know what's reality anymore. They don't know, like, they can't trust their memories. And so like that ambiguity of the memory and perception of what's going on escalates to delusion and hallucinations and paranoia. It's just like delirium. And then that is usually represented in the style of the unfocused narrative and of the unreliable narrator and of shit not making sense and their character motivations being like just nonsensical. Like, why wouldn't you go talk to the fucking police? It's because they're just like delusional and they think that they're hallucinating some of these things. It becomes like like an internal struggle, and that's like really important for the genre. Eventually, it doesn't show up in Blood and Black Lace, but it starts to become like a very relevant thing once Argento comes on the scene.
I see it in Crystal Plumage, but it's like more of just like a witness thing, where like if you have a witness who actually cares,
Yeah.
you know, like because there's kind of like a witness in Blood and Black Lace, but he's just like everyone's just like, oh shit, I gotta fucking hide that I know this.
And like
It's hilarious. It's
Yeah,
so funny that like
funny.
literally the first fucking kill is that woman getting strangled and getting dragged off with her cleavage and
Hanging out.
and
Almost
that guy's
a
just
titty.
like oh, like I saw this, I gotta like fucking I gotta keep this inside. This is weird to act like
So
everything's
fix
normal.
the sign.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's just like in that movie where the girl finds the body in her trunk and then she drives it all the way back to the studio and just hides it in the building. And she's just like, all right, I'm leaving this here. Like,
it's hilarious.
like law enforcement
are
are almost
busy
never
people.
protagonists. Well, and they don't want to be associated with the murders. And it's like, well, you already are because it happened in your weird theater troupe.
That's a hassle. Being involved with the murder is a
Yeah.
real fucking time suck.
It's just, it really sucks. But because these protagonists are usually women, it's like critics have like started to they started criticizing these movies because it developed a trope of like the unreliable woman. It's just like it's the woman who you can't trust, and like it's like emblematic of like how men viewed women at large, and it was like this misogynistic trope that kind of started developing in these films.
Italian women are untrustworthy because they're
like-
so hot.
Yeah, I was thinking of the more obvious misogyny and just like murdering beautiful women and just being like, oh, beautiful women, that's why we're murdering them. Yeah, no, that's why we're murdering them
Well,
because they're beautiful women.
Usually the motives were like the killer's motives were always because they were mentally ill and something in their past, some kind of, and it's almost always a psychological trauma that's sexual in nature.
Yeah.
Something triggers them. So like in the
like
bird-
real life.
yeah, in real life. But like in the Bird with the Crystal Plumage, which is like somewhat subverting the trope without actually like, but I think honestly just establishing it.
He wants to suck his mama's titty.
Well, the woman is the killer, but she's triggered when she sees the painting of. She sees this painting of this guy had made of when he of this woman being violently raped, basically, and he painted it after he saved his ex-girlfriend from being violently raped, and it turns out the killer is that girl in the painting, and when she sees the painting of herself in that violent situation that she actually lived through, it triggers something in her that makes her become psycho and start killing people. And like that's pretty standard throughout the genre. Is like it's something like that.
Psychos.
Some kind of like
Boilerplate.
trauma that triggers you to start murdering.
Very fun. Very, very fun. The intro to this movie, like with all the mannequins and like them holding place, is so fucking awesome. And it's hilarious to be like, man, this movie is like gonna be a little more artsy than I thought. All right, cool. And then the dubs, like right when you start the movie, you're like, oh wait, I don't know. Like the dubs are so off and so weird and fucked. It's so funny. And then like it'll still like bring back that artistic element, but just how the movie is dubbed. Like literally there's a point where a guy's just like putting pencils and like things on a desk. And like it'll just be like 2-second delay on like
Then the sound kicks in.
pencils actually hitting the table.
No,
It's
but
so
that's
funny.
just a stylistic choice of these films, though.
Well, the sound design in this movie being off is not stylistic, but the dubs being terrible was 100% a stylistic choice. And it's also just how Italian films were produced at the time. And then once you get into the late 70s, when you get to like Suspiria and stuff, the way those are dubbed, that was less of a thing then. They like were starting to get more and more into like actually recording sound and dialogue on set. But
Imagine
they
that.
consciously started...
Wasn't
Yeah.
great. Didn't do a great job.
Oh, well, not in Suspiria. They consciously made a choice to just like dub it because everybody's like half the cast was German, American, and then the other half was Italian. And so everybody spoke different languages. And so people literally would just be like, I knew what their line was. So I didn't necessarily understand the language they were speaking, but I knew like when they finished talking what my line was.
What my
gonna
body
be.
language
Yeah.
was supposed to be.
Yeah, like I know the dialogue. It was just that's
Were
how
they
a lot of
all
these-
doing? Were they all doing the dialogue in their native tongues? Like
Yes.
everybody
The
did
most confusing sets
What?
ever.
Yeah, well, that's how all of these movies were made. Even like Fellini
Are you
movies.
fucking
if you get to
kidding me?
if you get to the greatest Italian movies of all time, Fellini, who didn't speak very good English, Satiricon's all English speakers and then Italian speakers, and none of them could speak the same language. And they would just say their lines, and like they knew what the next line was supposed to be, and then they would just act on that.
Are you fucking kidding? I never knew that.
That's how
Yeah.
they produce movies in Italy and France. Well,
That
mostly
they
Italy.
just like
Mostly
the
Italy.
English that the American people just spoke English.
They just said their lines in English, and the Italian people said their lines in Italian, and they just like they knew the script that well.
It's fucking hilarious.
It's great, and the dubs are always bad. Even in the greatest films of all time, you go watch 8.5 and La Dolce Vita, and it's Marcello doing his own voice, but it's still dubbed over. It's like them doing their own Italian, but they dubbed it later, and it's like matches pretty well, but it's still off. It's always off.
I think that's what makes it look even worse. Is like some people like the dubs being better on some people because they're saying the actual words that they're saying, and then
Yeah.
some people it being completely different.
It's
Like,
another
so-
language. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's But then Fellini and Visconti and people like that used it to great effect. Rossellini, they would like use it to make like a surreal effect to the film, and like it just sucks you in. They do a really great job. But these guys, they didn't give a fuck. It was like these were cheap Roger Corman-esque movies. Like they were using the Roger Corman model of producing. It was just like, fuck it, we got it on the second take. We'll get what's her name to do the dub later on.
Yeah, it's like making cheap films.
Yeah,
It's
these
what it is.
these were cheap,
Very
movies.
inexpensive. You don't get, that you don't take until you get it. You just do two takes and you move on.
Yeah, like as the genre goes on, it gets more artistic, and like Argento starts bringing that like authorship to it, and Bava starts bringing an authorship to it. But especially here at the beginning of it, and then a lot of these directors, just because like people were trying to make money, this shit was like fast produced. Who gives a shit if it matches? Let's just put it out. It's all about the gore, anyways. It's all about the sex, anyways. That's how a lot of these movies were made.
Dude.
And they're really fun for it. They're actually really fucking fun.
Oh, this
because they
movie-
don't
This
work
movie
well.
was fucking hilarious. So much of the dialogue is just like, You go there, and I'm gonna go over here. All right, so I'll see you later. I was just like, what the fuck is this dialogue? This is the weirdest shit. It was so literal at so many times.
Yeah.
She's like, oh god.
It like definitely as the genre evolves, like all of that starts to get better and better. And then like Deep Red, which we're watching next week, is actually written by Bernardo Zapponi, who wrote Fellini's Roma and worked on him with Satyricon and did Fellini's Casanova and City of Women. So like that guy, like, and he's like an acclaimed screenwriter. So Deep Red is like considered basically the highlight of this entire genre, which is going to be a fun one to do next week because it's a very, very complex storyline actually written by someone who wrote complex stories, who like wrote good shit. The true artist. Those would
Not
say.
like one of these DC movies.
No.
Dude, that's good because we are very chill and super good at describing good, complex movies.
Yes, we are.
When it comes to this genre, I think we're gonna be just fine. Because next week we're gonna talk about like how it changes and how this genre kind of like changed in those 70 to 73 those years, and then kind of where it's gonna be going after this. Because Deep Red's like the peak. So we're going from the beginnings to the peak. And we're jumping 12 years.
Hey-oh.
Hey-oh. But we should say, I do want to talk about how this movie has had an influence on so many fucking people. Tarantino has quoted it as being a big influence on him. Scorsese talks about how this movie, and specifically Bava in general, and his movie Kill Baby Kill is just like, all of it is super influential on him. Brian De Palma, and then Eli Roth is actually noted for.
We can probably leave that one out. No, that's not what I mean.
I know. I mean, Eli Roth credits the film Torso and Who Can Kill a Child, which are both Giallo films, as being an influence on Hostel.
Let's jump into the aspects of the movie that were and weren't so giallo, and not even that they weren't giallo, but they were just funny.
That is me.
They weren't such yellow moments.
I just liked when the detective was like, yeah, I guess they all have an alibi. Like, damn it, these guys who are, I guess, innocent get to go free. Like, he was pissed that they all...
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's that law enforcement not being trustworthy thing.
This movie,
Yeah.
this movie, like, made you feel for the police. Like,
A little bit.
he was just like, God damn it, these shitty ass people. Like, I'm literally just like, you fucking have to tell me what you know right now.
I don't know.
And they're like being so shitty, and he's just like, God damn, can no one just fucking tell me? I'm
Listen,
trying to solve
Somebody was
this.
murdered, and I'm just trying to figure... It's your friend. Okay, I don't even know her, okay? It's like, it's your friend. I'm just trying to figure out... God damn it. God, just...
Exactly.
Did you kill her? No, I don't know. I don't know anything.
The only one who was being cooperative was the killer, was Cameron Mitchell's character. He was the only one who was just like, all right, I'll talk to you.
He was at the beginning.
He was being quiet and all
literally
the-
is just like, I don't know a lot. Like, you'll have to talk to these other girls.
Yeah.
You know that they live.
But
with.
like when they bring him to the police station and stuff, he's just quietly in the back and he's like telling them whatever they want, and like the other guys are freaking out and yelling at each other because they feel like they have something to lose. And
It's
he's
so
just like
funny.
sitting in the back, and he's like totally the one doing it. It's hilarious.
Did you
Am I the
think-
only one who wanted to fuck that cop? Those eyes, dude. He had some fucking piercing eyes.
So you want?
I did
you
not
want-
notice his eyes.
You want
No,
your
I
lover?
didn't
nothing?
notice. I didn't notice
Fine.
it, dude. I didn't
You
notice
didn't notice
his eyes.
his piercing eyes?
Do you
No.
want your lover to have piercing eyes?
I didn't notice.
Do you not?
We watched the
Piercing?
retro VHS version of this movie.
Me too, but like still. Pierce straight through those fucking that fucking
like,
VHS.
still.
Pierce straight through the tracking, dude.
I didn't see it, man. I didn't notice. I gotta rewatch it.
Yeah, I gotta see those piercing eyes.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
it was
they were
your
kind of
fantasy.
small and beady, but still piercing. They pierced.
Small,
They
beady,
pierced.
and piercing
They were
goes
beady,
together
but
like
piercing.
peanut butter and
Small,
Jell-O.
piercing, beady eyes. Like a
The man
BB
with the
gun.
Giallo
Like a
eyes.
BB gun pumped 5 too many times.
Those horrible Giallo eyes.
It's like
That's-
Legion.
No, that's from Spider-Man.
Those horrible yellow eyes. Yeah. Rosemary Harris, yeah.
Finish it
Finish it.
from evil.
I love those movies,
Dude,
man.
Bryan
Sam
Cranston
Raimi
was
made a
barely
horror
in
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Who?
Bryan Cranston was barely even in Spider-Man.
I wish.
The first 5 minutes.
Okay, did anyone else think that like when they are starting to wear the black lace, they're like, okay, you have to wear this costume, not costume, wear this dress out on the runway.
It was kind of a costume.
Did you
It's
think
okay,
it was
it's a
gonna?
costume. It's okay. It's okay.
Did you think that it was going to be kind of like passed along as a curse, like, and
Yeah.
the women were gonna get murdered, like whoever wore that? That's the first thing I thought when I saw. I was just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like classic trope like thing where it's just
Blood and
like
black lace.
it's
Not
called blood and
really,
black lace.
because-
It's literally gonna
because-
be the.
Because murder is so like everybody's gonna get fucking murdered. It was just like a bunch of people are gonna get murdered. I didn't think the
But I
dress
thought-
was
I just-
gonna be.
I had a feeling that that's where the movie was going. I was wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean,
immediately.
well, because I think they even said like that dress is cursed. Like one
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
characters said the dress is cursed. So yeah, no, I was just.
I didn't know how they
I-
were gonna get all those girls into that dress.
I knew whoever wore the dress was gonna get murdered next, but
Not
I
at
didn't
the
think
same
the dress was
time,
gonna.
but-
Yeah, I didn't think the dress was gonna keep going. So no,
I thought the dress would just be like the pants in those sisterhood movies, you know?
yeah.
It just travel
Sisterhood
around
of the
and-
traveling fucking murder victim dress.
Are those pants the pants? Swing.
Those pants look great on you, but I bet they'd look a lot better on the floor of my dungeon.
They look great on you, but they'd look even better if I severed half of your corpse and took your legs with the pants back to my house.
Yeah, I found these pants at Goodwill. They got bleach and blood all over them. But they're pretty sick.
It's like American Psycho when he's at the dry cleaners, and he's just like, "You can get this stain out of my shirt," and the woman's like, "Oh, hey, I come here all the time." He's like, "Well, you can get this stain out of my shirt then." She's like, "What is that?" He goes, "Oh, God, it's cranberry juice. I just dropped cranberry juice on my shirt. It's just, I gotta go." Anyways, Blood and Black Lace was a really good movie.
Dan, did you enjoy watching this film first time and second, or a little bit of
first time?
the first time, a little bit of the second time? Or
The first
how
time
did
was
it go?
amazing because I kept drifting in and out of sleep. And in sleep, I don't have to deal with any of the real world stresses. So it's pretty dope. Pretty great place to be. And the second time, I was like, oh, this is a movie. It makes sense now. Because I actually saw it. Yeah, it was good. Honestly, like, it didn't like get me, didn't enthrall me.
So like, what are like some favorite parts that you did actually enjoy, like, of this movie, even though you were like kind of like you know, I don't know exactly how you felt, but you seemed to be like, oh yep, movie, cool.
I don't know. So yeah, no, I like the movie. Overall, it didn't hook me. Full disclosure, I already watched Suspiria because I don't have it, so Chase had to lend it to me on DVD. So we're talking about that later. But like, it didn't hook me like that did. You know, I didn't guess the killer, but at the same time, I wasn't necessarily surprised by the killer or anything like that. It just the campiness, and I think a big part of it was me being very sleepy. But I was just like, all right, I get it. Cool, great, yeah, looks cool, great. Good night. If I had been more awake, and like today when I watched it, I rewatched it while I was at work and had to start and stop a lot just so that I could make sure I'd actually seen the whole film before I talked about it. Not also not a great way to watch a film. But again, like there were certain moments after the woman who is helping with the killings falls off the balcony when she's coming back at the end, and they do
Yeah.
that slow pan around the killer, the guy killer. Like
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really nice shot.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they had actually used that shot to reveal her, but still really enjoyed the shot.
Yeah.
There are a lot of like really like there's weird shots and there's some weird shots that do really well. But like that shot where the killer is literally holding that woman and like his hand around her mouth, and then he like starts writing. Like
Yes,
that's so
real...
weird, and it looks like it's like animated
Yeah.
like
And
onto the
actually-
paper.
It's really strange.
Right before that shot, the shot that I liked where they pan around when they're going into the room where he's like trying to break into the jewelry box. For one, super slow build up to him trying to break into that jewelry box at the end.
Uh-huh.
Like like. What? Why did it take him 5 minutes to fucking break into that? Like they showed him trying out multiple tools. But
Motivation is sometimes very odd in this movie. Like
Yeah.
when he's going down to his lair and he like seems confused, like he's stopping in the hallway and like looking around, and you're like, "Wait, no, you're in your lair. No one's there." And like, and he goes
Yeah,
and
it's
knocks
very
over that
strange.
chair, which is one of my favorite parts of the movie. When
just
he's just like, "Huh, fuck chairs," and you're just like, dude, you're in your lair. What's happening?
You're in your own lair.
well, they have this shot that at first like you think is a POV, like a killer POV or something, like right before
Oh,
that.
how do you know that term?
Uh-huh.
Where does that term come from?
Point of view.
Point of view shot. So anyway, yeah, they're like going through and like they
I've never
pass
heard of
by a
that.
mirror that you're like they kind of turn towards the mirror like, oh, are you gonna see somebody else in the mirror? No. Then they go into this other room and it's just like this really long tracking shot that's not really tracking on anything. It's just tracking into the other room where he's like fiddling with the jewelry box. That looks like it should be a POV. That's then nothing. It's just like, what? Why did you guys just need to eat like a minute and a half, 2 minutes of film?
Yeah, there's a few moments like that in this movie. You're just like,
I think
wait,
it's
what?
hilarious. There's some cuts that are so goddamn funny. Oh my god! I'm just like, I don't even think that was the sound design's fault. Like that was totally just a terrible fucking cut.
Terrible cut.
Oh my god, it's so fucking nuts. Which makes me, wonder if like, obviously this wasn't the first cut of the film that we saw.
No.
And like I wonder what the fuck the director's
Well, that's one of the
cut
things about
is.
this is aren't there a bunch of cuts?
Yeah,
for all
multiple
of these
cuts
films?
of a lot of.
There's at least two for this one, 2 or 3. But yeah, there's like multiple versions of all of these movies. Like the version of Deep Red that we're going to be watching next week is heavily edited. The original Italian was almost 25 minutes longer, and it had lots and lots of gore and like sex and stuff in it. And the American cut, they cut all the gore and stuff out. And then the version that we're watching is going to be the gore's all edited back in, but there's still about 23 minutes of the movie missing because it was never released outside of Italy. So it's not like the fully original movie. It never will be. We're watching the definitive version that like American and English and Western audiences have like come to appreciate, and it's still supposed to be really, really good, but it's not like the original.
It's
going to
be the version
not
that's
like the
uploaded
original.
to the cloud and stays in the singularity when you can become the movie later in life.
I don't know if you'd want to. It's fucking terrifying. It's a fucking terrifying thing to become.
Become the movie.
Deep Red.
There's so many crazy characters. It's so funny, like when the police first show up at the model house. I don't even know what the
Yeah.
fuck it is.
Dorm.
The model house. And all these fucking crazy characters start coming out of the woodwork, and you're like, oh, this movie's about all the what? Oh fuck! Like all these people are just coming out and just be like, oh hi, I don't know anything. I'm just doing
You're
this.
like,
blah, blah, blah.
you're
And you're like,
suspicious.
oh, I have to go. Like, like everyone's just being crazy. You're just like, what the fuck? This
So when
movie's
they
nuts.
did the diary and the bump close-ups,
Yeah.
it was like fucking Clue. It felt
Yeah.
like Clue.
Oh, it's totally like Clue. Yeah, I almost like literally just said like, okay, so we just watched Blood and Black Clue.
It's Clue, the '60s movie.
Yeah, it's
Basically what Clue's based on.
it's hilarious. It's very funny. It's fucked. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's so funny when that guy has like a fucking epileptic seizure.
And the police department, yeah.
And then the cop just turns and says, "You can go home now."
Also, they were just like, "Did you know he was epileptic?" And I was like, "I didn't know he was epileptic." Like,
The one woman goes, I knew he was epileptic. And then they go, get out. Get out.
You can go home.
Leave.
It's so funny. It's one of the best lines of the movie.
It's great. Yeah, these movies are very fun. All of these movies are fun. In those schlocky kind of ways.
Yeah. The purple body, like with the purple light on that body when he was being dragged, when he's just moving all the bodies around, it's so fucking weird. He's just killing people and playing with them, like setting them up in different formations and
he was
putting
just
them in different
stacking them at one
places.
point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Very fun. Pillow death. Anybody?
Oh my God. I was so sad. You didn't see her face.
I know you didn't get to
She just
see it.
died.
It's just like great acting role. Hey, you're gonna be the woman that we cover your face
With
and
a pillow.
and you die.
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't have to do any. Oh, awesome.
Oh,
and you're not
you're-
getting paid as much.
You're going to actually smother me. I'm actually going to die. Because he
Richard-
smothers her for a while.
Mark Smothersberg. Smothers bad? What is it again? What's that guy's name? Mother's bad.
Mother's bad. Mr. Mother's bad.
When that woman is drunk at the end, after you find out that she's like in on the, murder, she's like Cameron Mitchell's girlfriend or whatever.
Wife.
Yeah. Wife. Not for long.
Not for long. She shoots him in the dick.
But when she's drunk and being so fucking hilarious, like, I don't know. I really like that scene too. Like, I don't know. She was being very fucking funny. It reminded me of my girlfriend and her friends, like when they're actually drunk.
Yeah.
It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Huh.
Huh. Yeah, this movie like definitely like established this genre. Like a lot of these elements are like in the rest of these movies.
Yeah, this movie's like my life.
This movie's Alan.
How about Catwoman in this movie? Did you like her?
Talking about Elvira versus meets Audrey Hepburn.
No. Is that who you're talking about?
Is
the
that
woman who looks
Catwoman?
like Julie Newmar? No, the woman that dies in the bathtub.
Yeah, that's
That's the girl you're talking about. I'm
Yeah.
not talking about that girl. I'm talking about the girl who becomes drunk and is funny as shit. She looks like Julie Newmar's Catwoman when she falls out of the fucking sky and loses one life, and she's got 8 left.
Oh, that's right. And she's standing. She looks like Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns when she sees Cameron Mitchell, and she's like,
She didn't look like Michelle
gonna
Pfeiffer.
kill
She looked
me.
like Julie Newmar from the Batman TV show with.
yeah, but she had the same like swagger as Michelle Pfeiffer when after Christopher Walken pushes her out the window in Batman Returns, and she gets back
She's
to her
a couple
apartment. And she
different
starts
Catwomen.
sewing the Catwoman.
She has the same swagger of a woman who's just been pushed out a window.
Yeah, has nothing to do with Catwoman.
Yeah, but that happens in Batman Returns, and she totally has that look in her eye and like the same kind of like. shoulder
Listen, you're
forward
both
swagger.
right. It's okay.
Catwoman was pushed out of a window.
Apparently, that's a thing.
Well, Blood and Black Lace is a very fun film, very stylistic film, and I was shocked by how fucked up the dubs were and how it was still a good, enjoyable film.
Yeah,
Nonetheless.
it is still fun despite that.
And it makes it very funny
Yeah.
throughout. But
I
I,
mean-
was very worried from the first, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
This is going to be bad. I
Jo-
have to watch this for an hour and a half. No, it was very fun.
It's a good time. This genre is so much fucking fun. I'm so fucking excited to be doing this during spooky season.
Yeah, and everyone dies at the end of this movie. We didn't mention that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and like
Yeah,
a lot
and
of
you
times
get
that
to take a
happens.
really good nap.
And there's like the last person is just like, and just like falls on the other
It's like-
person and dies.
yeah.
You're like,
Bay of Blood is a similar kind of bleakness, and there's a lot more deaths in that, and they're a lot more gory. I would definitely recommend. It's boring a little bit, but like I definitely recommend.
Bory.
A little bit. It's like 80 minutes long though. It's not that long, and there's lots of fucking death and nudity in it.
Sounds
it's
doesn't
Giallo.
sound-
Fuck yeah.
Doesn't sound boring at all. Just because
I
they're gonna
loved
stick
it.
some plot in there.
Yeah, they stuck some plot in there. There's a couple scenes where you're just like exposition. I don't care, and then then there's just a spear going through two people while they're having sex. And the guy
Yes.
comes and he just gets like penetrated by a fucking spear, and it's gory as fuck.
Yeah, and that's just straight up out of Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah, that, and then when the guy gets his face
Right
like cut
out
in
of
half.
it.
Well, that
Well,
it's out of Bay of
Vice
Blood,
versa.
and it's put Friday the 13th Part 2 just copies it. It's pretty
know that.
great.
I know
There's
that
literally a decapitation scene, and you just like roll with the head, and the camera's just the head. It's
Like the
fucking
bowling
awesome.
balls in the Big Lebowski.
Like Midnight Meat Train.
True.
Yeah, like the bowling balls in the Big Lebowski, exactly like that.
Thank you,
It's
thank
like
you.
that. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that was Blood and Black Lace. And that was
That's our Giallo
an
part
introduction
one.
to Giallo.
Yes,
Yeah,
we covered
that-
lots.
Join us next week, and the week after that, and the week after that.
And the week after that, because we're going to go through
Oh, shit.
deep
Yeah,
red.
we're doing a lot.
We're gonna go deep red. We're gonna do Suspiria, and whether or not that's actually a Giallo film, we're gonna do The Strange Color of Your Body's Tears, the modern Giallo interpretation, and then we're gonna do Suspiria, the remake, which comes out this November.
Remake.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Well, you can find us on Instagram at Coming of Age Pod, and we also have a Twitskis at Coming of Age Pod _. And you can find us on
Follow,
Facebook,
please.
and you can find us on all the things that you listen to the podcasts on.
Yes, yes, yes.
Places in the cyberspaces of your mind. Go into the side inside your side yourself and find inside your mind is us. It's where we are and here, and where we are is there, but also here and here. Good night.
Coming
and good
of
luck.
age.
Thank you so much.
Good night and good. Suck my dick.
Fuck you.